defending, I think, is like.
People deluded, I'm back again.
Come on, Ian. Come on. Just like the big man Ian Wright just said there, people deluded, I'm back again. First things first, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and in some cases, good night. I hope you're doing well and safe. Appreciative to you lot tuned in. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, all of that good things, people. Turn on your notification bells and check out the rest of the other videos. But let's get straight into the reason we're here. Let's see what's going on in terms of Arsenal transfer rumors and all this nonsense. Now, we know we're in October, soon in November, really and truly. This year has flown by. Nonetheless, people, let's get on. Arsenal tipped to rival Newcastle for Manchester City flop. Guardiola is happy to sell in January. Arsenal are considering a shock move for out of favour Manchester City midfielder Calvin Phillips in January, according to reports. As you know, he signed for £42 million, people, in 2022 due to injuries, maybe a lack of quality, maybe Pep just not being happy with what he's seen. The 27-year-old has barely scratched the surface of Manchester City's first team. Now, he has picked up a treble. He has learned from Pep Guardiola. He still gets called up for England, and I'm sure he's getting significantly more money than he would have got at Leeds United, still being in the Championship. He's actually been linked with Newcastle, Bayern Munich, as well as Arsenal. I don't really buy this because, you know, Arsenal could do with more midfield bodies. You know, again, Rice has had minor back issues. Partey's obviously had knocks. Jorginho and El Nene maybe are not going to be here. And at 27 years of age, being English, and obviously us working with Manchester City before, it makes sense where these rumours are coming from. But you know, you do wonder for his physical conditioning. It seems like Calvin Phillips picks up a lot of injuries. Obviously, Arteta and Pep are not the same person, but if you're not really convincing Pep in whatever he wants, I can't see you convincing Arteta. It all depends on the feed. You know what? If he was fit and you could grab him on loan, I wouldn't necessarily be against that for the season. I'm not too sure if that's something that Manchester City would be keen on. According to reports from Spain, as cited by Court of Side, Arsenal are looking to add tenacity and defensive solidity in the middle of the park during the January transfer window, and Phillips has emerged as a potential target for them. He is a good player. He's reasonably tigerish as a footballer. You have to wonder, though, it must be a new kick in the teeth for him because he is no Rodri. But it seems like in the absence of Rodri and John Stones not being fit to start any games like that for Manchester City, it seemed like Pep said, you know what, rather than play Calvin Phillips, I'd rather bet on us being a bit more creative in the middle of the park, really and truly. And you could argue that while Manchester City, are obviously going to miss Rodri, you could argue against Arsenal, they miss Kevin De Bruyne a bit more because I think, if anything, they were lacking the glee, the tempo, and all that stuff in the final third. But then again, you know what happens when you buck the bullies in Gabriel and Saliba. Haaland defo knows he's probably still having nightmares, and hopefully Odegaard is still bannering him. So yeah, let me know your thoughts. As you know, we brought Jesus and Zinchenko previously from City. So it is what it is, people. Again, Bayern Munich are also interested in him. To be fair, off topic, Manchester City have been linked with signing Kroos from Real Madrid, and they've also been linked with Joshua Kimmich. So maybe Calvin Phillips could be a make weight in any sort of deal to Bayern Munich. But I don't personally buy this, really and truly. And it's not guaranteed he would start necessarily at Arsenal. I think there's game time, but, you know, Arteta is, I wouldn't say Jorginho's a regular in the Arsenal team, but there's a couple of games that he will come in, like you saw with Manchester City with him starting. A fit Thomas Partey starting ahead of Calvin Phillips. You know, Declan Rice costs 105 million and is a amazing footballer. He's playing ahead of him. I do think you get significantly more minutes than you're doing at City, but surely it makes sense to go elsewhere. And for me, it's more the injuries, really. He has made just 26 appearances for them, people, and only 4 starts. Now, the 4 starts have been because Pep don't believe in you, but 26 appearances. The best trait you could have is availability. Does Calvin Phillips necessarily have that? You lot let me know. From one midfielder to another, you know, Andre, who plays over there in Brazil, was previously linked with Liverpool. Again, I probably pronounced his name wrong, but allegedly, Arsenal have reportedly entered the race to sign Liverpool transfer target Andre, with the Gunners sporting director visiting Fluminense's training ground. A new report from Brazil that is understood to be a good source for Fluminense news has claimed Arsenal could enter the race to sign Andre. Apparently, Liverpool had a £25 million bid rejected. Now, maybe Liverpool are getting closer, and that's where these rumours come from. Obviously, Edu is Brazilian. We've shown that we'll bring Brazilians into the club. And midfield is a position that I'm sure Arsenal and Liverpool would like from now till next summer. Well, end of the summer, to get some new additions. I'm all for it. I don't know him religiously. He looks a decent player, really and truly. But apparently Edu was there. Now, Edu could have been at Fluminense's training ground to deal with transfers, to talk about another player, maybe just catching up with old friends during the international break. Who knows, people? But it's a case of getting 2 and 2 and getting 5, as you can see here. But if there is a bit of interest in the player, I would love for a conversation to have happened, people. The official reasons for the visit were to learn more about the club's youth development process and continue a partnership between the club. So there you have it, really and truly. It's a case of 2 and 2 and getting 4, people, really. So we'll have to see. And obviously, Andre is still participating it for his club, and they have a Copa Libertadores to be playing in, so they probably didn't want to let him leave to join Liverpool or anyone else before that. Arthur Vermeeren, who's been called up to the Belgium squad at just 18 years of age. You've seen him for the last 2 years now, included 18 months now. He's playing in the Champions League. He looks quite a decent prospect, and it's no wonder that through his performances and being a regular for Royal Antwerp, the 18-year-old is getting interest from Bayern Munich, Borussia Dortmund, Juventus, Arsenal, Manchester City, Tottenham Hotspur, and also Barcelona, where, Van Bommel, obviously has history. And I'm sure that Xavi and Van Bommel, when their two teams played each other in the Champs, they must have ran the rule over him. At 18 years of age, he's been a regular for the past 12 months, people. He's quite a decent player, a defensive midfielder, really, with a great technical level. Obviously, we need to, you look at Arsenal, he ties in what we're doing with the youngster stuff. In my opinion, as I was saying with Calvin Phillips, we need midfield body. So I'm all up for it. Apparently, he was called up to replace the injured Leandro Trossard, but either way, he's been called up. 90-minute understands Manchester City, Arsenal, and Spurs have each made inquiries to Antwerp about Vermeeren, who has a contract until 2026 after signing a new one last season, the day after he turned 18. But the Premier League trio are not alone in showing an interest. Barcelona, Bayern Munich, Borussia Dortmund, and Juventus are all keeping watching. So yeah, people, and there's probably a bunch of other clubs, people, really and truly. He just needs to keep doing what he's doing. Arsenal sent warning over signing 60 million rated Ivan Toney in January, with Gunners told they may not be ready to welcome Brentford star. I don't know what this means, but Martin Keown, I weren't planning on speaking about this. But let's see. It's about where the team is, but I get it. Ivan Toney is a prolific goal scorer, although a lot of them would have been penalties. You still got to put penalties in the back of the net. But I think at a point, he only had three non-penalty goals more than Jesus. So that shows you that potentially, while I think we need a striker with different sort of qualities in our team, potentially the need for a striker is probably overrated, really. And maybe chance creation and chance conversion in-house is already one thing, but at the same time, we create a lot more chances than Brentford. Who knows what Ivan Toney would get if he was starting for Arsenal, Manchester City, Spurs, or a team that's more likely on the front foot in the Premier League 9 times out of 10 games they go into. So he is right. He's still got to be able to take pens. They now looking at Brentford, can they deal without him? They realize a huge offer is coming in for him, and Arsenal will probably be at the top of the list. They probably want him. If I'm Brentford, money talks, and if you're presented with an offer, why not? I'm probably sitting there saying to Ivan Toney, I'm not being funny, but we've stood behind you with this gambling stuff. You come back, you help us. We're kind of struggling this season. You come back, you help us. You can F off in the summer if that's what you want. As we know, he's got new agents. He's got 18 months left on his deal. And things like that. And you do have to wonder, as much as I would be happy to have a new striker or Ivan Toney, he hasn't been playing for a bunch of months now. No matter how much training you're doing, in the last recent weeks, he's been allowed to train at Brentford's ground, and obviously he's played a couple of behind closed doors friendlies. When is he going to be ready to play and participate? Like, when is he going to? And if he is, what I mean by that is, when is he going to be fit and firing? Because match sharpness is going to be on the floor. Is he ready to impact immediately for Arsenal to boost maybe title chances or things? I don't know that. Form is temporary, class is permanent. But it's about the structure of the team and whether they're ready for that. He's going to be an out-and-out striker. He won't be popping back to be helping out in the way that Jesus does. But I think they could do with a first striker. It's true. And I think that's a bit harsh. I do think Ivan Toney and Jesus are very similar, and also different. But on the topic of being similar, I do think Ivan Toney is labelled as a target man unnecessarily. He can do the target man stuff, but he does work the channels. He does drop deep. Whether Ivan Toney raises the curtains of this team, I don't know where you lot are at, but I wouldn't be against Ivan Toney. When you're talking about 60-odd million, sure. Once you get into 80s and 100s, then for me, it's not as easy as that. But if you've got, not that I think Arsenal will do it, you might as well go for Osimhen or Vlahovic, 2 players that have been aggressively linked in previous years with Arsenal Football Club. But who knows? My guess is I think we're more likely to bring a winger in January, really. If we can get a striker, a lesser known entity, someone that's an emerging star, who knows? I don't think we'll get Ivan Toney and or Pedro Neto, but I think we're more likely to get a winger or a central midfielder, depending on Timber's injury progress, maybe even dip into the market for another defender, really. And I think the summer, apologies, will be where we look at a striker or significant outlays, the Pedro Netos, who knows if Wolves will let him go anytime soon. We've been once again linked with Zubimendi. Would love it, but he's been linked with Manchester City now. He's still forever linked with Barcelona and Arsenal. Martin Zubimendi is reportedly Mikel Arteta's chosen one to join Declan Rice and Martin Odegaard in Arsenal's midfield. I'm all for it. Arsenal were heavily linked with a move for Zubimendi last January before they signed Jorginho from Chelsea, and now Arteta is convinced the 24-year-old is the perfect fit for his side. Barcelona are also keen on signing him, people, and he still has a £60 million release clause. And apparently Arsenal and Barcelona are not alone, because you have Manchester United and AC Milan also interested, people. So we'll have to see exactly where that goes. I think this is just correlating the same thing about the young man at Royal Antwerp. I was just reading this off my own back with Martin Odegaard. Romano has said tying Ben White down to a new contract is Arsenal's main priority now. And as you'd imagine, Benjamin White's, key to Arsenal's plans. He's been a revelation. He's gone from strength to strength every year. And, he's not Gabriel. He's not Saliba. You're not an attacking player. So you're not Martinelli or Saka or Odegaard or these guys that are going to grab headlines. But I think Benjamin White deserves a lot of his plaudits, people. And I'm happy to have him, really. I'm actually very happy with our defensive options when everybody's fit, and it makes sense, tying down Benjamin White, like what we're doing with everything. Thank the Lord that Martinelli, Saka, Saliba going into this season all signed new deals. Could you imagine with Saliba's performances and his contract being up in 2024, the amount of stuff that would have gone on? Arsenal fans, we've been there in previous years. So Romano has said that's the first thing. Arsenal always go player by player in contract negotiations, and Ben White is a priority now. As you know, I never mentioned salaries, and there are no other details available about a deal at this stage. For sure, it will be a long-term deal, but the final length has not been decided yet. How old is Benjamin White? 26. Is he really 26? Time is flying. Let me type that in. Because you'd imagine a 4 or 5 year deal, you want to tie him down. If you're Benjamin White's agent and you're playing every week for Arsenal, you're getting better. You really should be in the England squad. You was in the England squad. We all know it's not a footballing decision. Surely you go for a free, maybe 4 year deal. Ideally a free with an option of an extra one, just because you're always 18 months away from signing a new deal. And it'd be nice to tie down Benjamin White. Time's flying, really, because just the other day he was on loan at Leeds. 26. He is 26. Just turned 26 this month, actually, October the 8th. My word, Benjamin White, you're a lot older than I actually thought. But nonetheless, people, it'd be nice to tie down Benjamin White. We've been linked with Galatasaray's Nelson again. Apparently, he's ready to leave Galatasaray after Sevilla frustration. He said it was very close with Sevilla. The flight was booked, but the move didn't materialize. I think that Galatasaray blocked the transfer. It's no secret. They didn't find the offer good enough. There's been interest from other clubs that I really want to join. I would have liked to have moved. I have had some talks with them. I informed them after the last international break that I don't want to extend my contract. I have 3 years left on my contract, and I just don't see myself extending for another year. I personally think him, Sasha Boy, Timothy Cassandre, I think Arsenal might have had interest in these players, but I don't think we aggressively move for them. And going back to the Ivan Toney thing, I don't think we'll move for him in January. I don't think a striker is as much of a priority to us as it might be to Chelsea and Spurs. If the deal's there to be done and it ticks the right boxes, okay. But if there's bidding wars, etc., it's a myth. So yeah, people, let me know your thoughts on Benjamin White's new deal, potentially Tony, Andre from Fluminense, and everything else we've discussed. Check out the rest of the videos. Most important thing, apologies. Stay blessed, stay safe. We'll link up again soon.
There's always just that active red flag defenders. I think it's like